Good morning. It is right now where I'm at, 10 a.m. Saturday. I do believe we're on Saturday now. Yesterday was the thing with the Schumann resonance skipping all over the place. I'm going to probably do this video in two parts. And most likely, because I know like TikTok likes a shadow ban, I'll probably be putting it on YouTube and all that as well. All right. Because I know they like to be making sure not a lot of people see my videos. And today's going to be a little bit unhinged, just a tad, right? But I want you to just hear what I want to tell you. So this is just for informational purposes, right? So let's talk about again the concept of the simulation, but now more from a Truman Show aspect, okay? So, um, yeah, so I've already explained how you will see just even now, me being in a different country, how these Sims do the same thing over and over again, trying to get into your line of vision, trying to orchestrate your narrative. For example, you're about to go outside, right? And like you'll get a weird phone call when you're about to go do certain things. It's either to interrupt you from doing it, is either for whatever, or they're trying to act like you're getting phone call. I mean, it's so played out now, and I'm going to explain to you why it's played out because again, based on the principle of the concept of what I've explained to you, that these folks can already read your thoughts, they can already they and like I said, it's not just like, oh, it's just one or two. No, they all they all Simlandia can see your thoughts. As far as what I hear from what the other Sims around sometimes over there, it's kind of like an international kind of thing, okay, that they can tap in and then they can see everything you did. They could see your visualizations or whatever you imagine. So I already know that. And I know they don't need any gizmos to do it because they are the gizmos. So they don't need any gizmos to do it. Maybe the phones and that help a little quicker. And if you're walking with your phone, as I said, it helps them out to see certain things, maybe. I don't know. Maybe your digital footprint. But as far as like, and if anyone ever tells you like any nonsense, like this is the government of no, this is all Simlandia, and it's something that's I mean, granted those kind of technology can exist, but it can only function under the concept that you're living in a simulation and you have an avatar and they have hacked your avatar, but they've hacked your avatar that all the other Sims can see it because they're Sims and it's a simulation like Jesus told us. So there you go. You see that? That's where we go into that area. So anyways, so I really don't care too much in that sense. I just now look at it like as if I'm testing them. I'm like when I first got to France, I was testing or observing basically what they can see, what they can't see, what they can hear, how fast they can hear. Are they doing it with something? Are they doing it with that? So that was kind of that idea. The fact that you see that they try to more not only do certain things to influence your mind because you collapse the reality, but also to convey or put things in your thoughts because this is where the indirect speech comes from, where the ones that are bad, because like again, it's not everybody. So they I don't know what they convinced everybody in Simlandia to do when I got here, but anyways, you got mixed in between actual individuals. You do got straight up demons in vessels and these parasitics who don't want the illusion to fall, who are making sure they keep really close tabs of you. I've already told you, like, I hear, like, when I'm leaving the building, I told you, like, even from within the building, like, nobody really lives here. They come and go. They pretend they live here. They do certain things to make you think that they're there, but they're really there, probably just observing you. I don't care. And they're still losing in theory. You know what I mean? If you think about it, that's how divinely protected you are. Still losing, even though they got you like corralled, okay? And this kind of works like in the Truman Show, right? The difference is I don't have a lot of outside people. It's just me and my kids, and you still got to watch everybody because you know not everybody, is like you. So even within households and in families, you know that you have individuals. So then on top of that, and when you're leaving, and this is what I try to show some of my kids, like listen for certain sounds. They'll do things, even if it's a cough, even if it's a door slam, even if it's a weird honk outside, even if it's like a drill sound, they do signals to let the other folks in the area know when you're moving, when you're on the move. Sometimes you catch them off guard, you catch them slipping every now and then, thank God. And then it messes up their whole orchestration. This is why it's good for you to sometimes take different routes, go here, there, and everywhere, and different times, right? So the thing is with this, I've already showed you what this entire neighborhood looks like. Go refer to the videos. It's practically abandoned. There's only like a couple houses, and even the houses that seem to be like there are people there when I'm passing by, I don't even believe now, based on that some of these folks live there, especially because they're the ones that when I'm passing by try to be the loudest or try to act the most showy, right? To try to catch your attention, which means I know not to even look at them the most, right? Okay. So the next aspect is, now I know this part, and I don't care to some degree, because I'll play along. I'll be like, it's the real world. It's true. I can think whatever I want. I'm not going to stop thinking what I want to think about somebody, or the normal natural processes of thought that I would normally have related to something per se, good or bad or whatever, just because these MFers can read your thoughts, because they have always read your thoughts. That's their problem. In Simlandia, people can see what I'm thinking about. That's their issue, right? You can't worry about that, because that yes will get you going into a spiral. So just live like, okay, whatever, it's real world. Anyways, not my fault that I saw you doing this and that, and I can tell you're a jerk off, or I can tell that you're like a freak or something like that, or you know what I'm trying to say? Like, so that's their issue with now how Simlandia interprets what I see, and then it looks bad on them, and that's their issue, okay? And this is where, like I showed you in the email that my mom sent me, right? How I don't talk to her, she don't talk to me. I don't ask her any questions about my podcast or anything like this, but she's coming in and she's like giving these comments, and I know what it's in reference to, because I know what I've been thinking about, and I know what I'm doing in my home across the ocean related to changing guests who are acting or doing stupid things in your face and all this. And then she's gonna, just like as if she could see, and she didn't get no injections or anything like this, because I remember in the beginning I used to think like, oh, maybe it's because they've all had some kind of injection during the pandemic, and now they're like, no. So she will make comments, so they all know everything, right? So good for them, which is why I don't care, because I said y'all know so much and people are eating your children, okay? Just saying. Anyways, you know so much, but you're letting other people out here walk around barefoot and suffering. You know so much, but you worry about the wrong things. But I guess let's not be judgmental, because I do understand that the simulation works to keep everybody in a distraction to some degree. Even like, who knows? Like sometimes this is where that existential part of me thinks like maybe even the way they have us as like a Truman show keeps them distracted from the things they should be worrying about, and then they're more worried about us. I don't even know. But anyways, that's going off on another tangent. So I was watching again lives, right? And I don't notice this as much as when I watch lives from other countries, but I do notice that particularly when I watch lives that are from Barcelona, when I'm watching scenes in the streets of areas where I live in Barcelona, it gets a little dicey. Like it does seem very interesting, as if immediately, because this is what I'm watching for. I'm watching to see the time and the speed with which the little Sims or Simlandia can catch on that I am tuned into them, right? And to see the behavior of the host now who's doing the video, and to see the comments that I get, or that not that I get, that start to pop up when they are aware that I'm watching. This is what I'm watching. I'm watching you watching me, basically. I'm going to make this part 2. So this is part 2, right? So as I was saying, related to the Truman Show aspect of this reality. So now I have been joining certain lives. I notice there's only an issue, or it gets dicey, or people get nervous when I start watching the lives from Barcelona. I lived in Barcelona 17 years, and it was because of the weird situations that started happening with the targeting and all that is why I came to France. So let's imagine like I'm hooked up to Barcelona or something like that. Let's imagine, right? Because imagine like that's where they hacked your avatar. I don't know, just imagine. Or imagine that's where all of the nonsense went down, right? So I want to see, I'm watching you watching me. I want to see how long it takes in Simlandia for their little, I don't know if their little brains just go, doo, 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 like, I don't know if they just start doing it. I don't know what happens. I want to see how fast they are aware that I'm watching them. So I've already told you, like, there's one guy who does a live, and I technically I like him. I don't think he's a bad person. Again, I do feel like the Matrix tries to force people to do weird stuff or pays them off and stuff like that. But let's imagine, like, this guy, I've been watching him for years. Like I always watch him because he used to live like in the neighborhood where I used to live, and he would do his little like you know, those walk around towards Barcelona and all this. So I go into the live. So obviously when you go into the live one, like, even though I'm using this TikTok and not my original, but let's imagine Simlandia knows who you are. Let's imagine. So I go in, so they know that I'm in the live. So I'm watching people in the streets of Barcelona, right? So this is the fun part, because you know how, like, they try to orchestrate and put what they want you to look at. So now it's like I'm not to be mean, just a little mean, just a little mean, but not to be mean, but like, if I really feel like it's a bother, I will do it on purpose. I swear to God, I'll go into the live every single day and like stare at everybody in the face. anyways, but listen, so what I noticed was that like the first time, like, I noticed, like, they noticed that sometimes I go in the live, right? I don't know why. I don't know how to explain it to you. It's the same way my intuition works, like when you're doing certain things and then you'll pick up messages from here, there. I don't know. The comments, okay? I'll see the comments. I always used to notice, like, the comments that come in, then the comments that the person maybe says, whatever. So the last time I went into his live, like 2 lives before, I was already like sleepy from the day because I was a bit tired. It was like the Truman residents were doing all sorts of stuff. And I went in, I was half asleep, but move your feet, please, sweetheart. Sorry. Anyways, I was half asleep, but as I was falling asleep, I had the live on and I had the headset and I'm like watching, but like dozing. I heard like some comments here and there, like talking about a lot of things that make it clear that it's like it's directed at you, right? But I was like thinking to myself, I don't know if he was saying it to be mean. I don't know if it's the purpose to do this now is so that you don't watch the live, so you don't look at the people as they're walking in the street, because supposedly this is an international Truman show that I have going on here, right? So I don't know if they get paid to do that, okay? So this time, yesterday, I went into a live that I never been in because I don't know that person. And I said, let me just try and see. But he was in Barcelona and he was in an area where I used to go. And I kid you not. Now, you could think this is completely unhinged. You could think this is completely unhinged. I'm watching to see the reaction time. I'm watching to see, like, if it's like weird or if they notice that you're in the live, or versus, because I do 2 things. I go into the live sometimes immediately, or sometimes I'm out of the live watching, right? To see the difference. So this time I went into the live. I don't know. You can think whatever you want. You can think that I'm like, I do feel that the person realized I was in the live. I do feel like they were a little bit nervous. I do feel that there was like a lot of playing around with the camera afterwards. But initially, okay, it was as if, now this is my impression, as if he was also aware of the gold, or let's say that that I was watching his live, and I don't know how it works in Simlandia. This is what I'm trying to say. It's as if like this whole little world is like under this kind of like everybody knows what's what except for us. So like, I don't even know how to explain it to you. It's as if like he now has to wait to see if somebody's going to negotiate with him so that he could be in on the Truman Show and be rude to me or something like that. You know what I'm trying to say? And this is why I say it, because then when I left and I came back the second time is when I heard they started saying like weird comments to like, and the people in the comments were making comments about things that I know I'd heard before directly from other guys when I was dating in Barcelona, like comments, like when I didn't know what was going on, and things that guys would say about me, and this and this and that, and related to certain things that were a bit sexual. But anyways, I was like, I was like, I wonder. They make specific comments so that you kind of have an inkling they're talking about you, but they only did that the second time after I left for some time. While I was there, and I catch them off guard during the first time, it was as if like nobody was really making those kind of comments. They were just kind of like, I asking more questions, like what, like as if like what's going on, like is this part of like, not using those exact words, but I'm watching and I'm reading the comments, and I'm reading the hosts, right? And it was like funny because even the host was like saying stuff that made me wonder, because where he was in Plaza España, and all the people were sitting there, and it wasn't really any place that they could go because they were waiting for the water show to start in the live. So it was like they were all corralled, and he's just passing the camera on purpose in everybody's face and blah, 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 blah. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, ain't that cool that it's like you could be like putting them on blast, like staring at them. And I'm going to tell you why this is significant, because I'm going to tell you what happened the day that we were leaving Barcelona when we were in the airport, when a lot of people were doing strange things. And I was like, why is it like they're trying to do on purpose, like weird things in front of me for me to look at it? I'm going to tell you that part because, like, again, this is all the idea that they know that everything is being seen through your eyes. And I've heard other people who have talked about being targeted to say strange things like this, that, that it's not only to collapse certain realities and thoughts in your mind, but it's also that they see through your eyes, right? And this technology does exist. But I'm just saying, again, it can only exist in the context of you being an avatar in a simulation, like Jesus came to tell us. Right? So, again, he even makes like a momentary like focus on one lady and these two kids, and he says something, and he just focuses on that lady and the two kids, and he says something like, yeah, there's one of them, they're always there just in case. So I'm thinking now, is he talking about like they got like decoy, how like around here in France, like I told you, like they have people who are like actors. So I want to know if in Simlandia everybody knows the get-go, and in big group areas, if they already always have, just in case like one of us, I don't know how many of us there are out there who are in our own Truman shows. Like if we show up and we're seeing something, like they focus in on that person so that they don't focus in on the private quote unquote Sims individuals, right? So he focuses on that. Then he focuses in on two people walking, and he says something weird like, oh, well, there's two there and there's another one there. And I see this guy who's sitting in the crowd, and it's as if he stands up, and he's with these girls. He stands up, and it's like he turns around like to face the camera guy, but not looking at the camera guy, like as if he doesn't know like where or who is videoing him. And all of, like, I don't know, it's like so surreal. I know it sounds like unhinged, but that's the whole thing that I want to know. Like, I don't care. I already know all the details about the concept of the Truman Show. I want to know how quick these little Sims in their little heads can pick up when they're being watched or tuned into. That's what I want to know. I want to see how robotic it is, or that level of interconnection there is between their information system. That's what I really want to see. So this is going to go into part 3, where I'm going to tell you, obviously I've already told you in France, they do this kind of things where they throw themselves in your way and they're trying to talk loud so you can look at them and all that. And those are all like the little actors and the people who they want you to focus on, especially like with my narrative, they try to make it be like certain ethnic groups, certain people doing weird stuff to like play the same story that they did in Barcelona. That doesn't make sense. But let me continue. Wait. Part 3 to what I noticed about the timing and how the Sims obviously like whatever, how they interconnect, right? So in Simlandia. So again, the next thing like that I wanted to talk about was how, in relation to this, when I didn't know what was going on and I was still in Barcelona, I remembered I couldn't understand. Like, and this happened when I started, this actually happened towards the last days, when it really kind of got like more pronounced. We had gone to this Dominican restaurant. Now, this lady, I liked her. I still like her. She had a Dominican restaurant. And my daughters, all my kids, when they did their first communion, we actually celebrated there. So I know the restaurant. I'd been there before. It wasn't the first time that I was in that area, whatever. And we went like early in the day, and I was like, oh, we got paid. I was like, oh, let's go to a restaurant. Let's go get like Dominican food, whatever. So we went, and I was in the restaurant, right? And I remember like I was just sitting there, like we were just like, whatever, calm eating. And then I just noticed like not the owner. The owner was fine. The lady was fine. I even called her to tell her that I was going. So she knew I was going. But this is what I'm just saying, and I keep these, just so again, Simlandia knows everything, right? Supposedly they go tracking you and watching you. They see everything through your eyes. But on top of that, I'm just saying that like it wasn't like some surprise that I was coming, anyways, because I actually like called to like do like reservation or time or whatever, and just let her know I was coming. So anything that happens after that would definitely be like orchestrated. Obviously, in that moment, I did not understand how the Matrix works. So I was just like, so I was sitting there, and like I just noticed. Remember what I told you my narrative was in Barcelona. That supposedly I went from being like a neighborhood snitch to being like this, like yeah, okay, they said three different things. The Sims when they sat behind me. One, they said like she helps to steal merchandise for some Moroccan guy, and then the other one said no, she's a cop. No, she's a snitch. No, like they came up with like three different stories sitting behind me, and then that was when like in the restaurant I was like, nah, we're gonna go, because like can you imagine like you're overhearing this and you don't know what's going on, and you really think that like there's this rumor going on around you in the thing is all these little demons, because the ones that came in, they came in right after we came in on purpose, sat behind us, and then started that conversation behind us so that we can overhear, right? But besides that, the guy at the bar did this like weird thing as if like someone came in and he tried to act like he was handing something to him in his hand that looked like some kind of contraband, but he did it in such a like weird, obvious way, as if like he wanted me to see it in front of his face. So I was like, what the hell? Like what like, and then again, so they started doing these kind of things, again, playing in that like you're watching. So then when we were at the train station before we were coming to France, again, I like, because after that one happened, I think like they felt more like they could ramp it up, because now that was like something that was like with my ethnic community, because again, all up until that time they were still doing rumors, and I was living in the mountains. I wasn't really like, I didn't talk to people. I had already dropped a lot of friends. I wasn't talking to people. So I didn't have any communication with anyone. And I guess they figured, well, this is a good plausible way to make her feel that like this and that, because I overheard the conversation. And then they tried to, even in the mountain area, I remember where we lived, when I went out 6 a.m, there were these like people who looked Dominican and young and looked like they weren't from the area. And they were standing at the bus stop like really weird, like as if they wanted to keep it going with like it was so weird. And then the people who lived there, who normally took the bus with me, they were like quiet and like nervous, because they're like, and I could tell, like, I'm like, what the heck? And like they didn't talk to me a lot, so I knew that it was like something related like to like me or something. Like it was just like crazy, like it was crazy, the shenanigans that they were doing. So when I was in the bus stop now, in Plaza Sans, getting ready to take the train, when we were leaving Barcelona coming to France, even in the train there was like some weird stuff going on, because they just kept it going. But again, I feel these are like parasitics trying to feed off of like fear, because as I wrote in the book, there's a scene when I was in the mountains and I was on the bus and I remember like things were going on around me, and they were like trying on purpose to like dim the lights and do weird stuff on the bus and making these comments. I remember one of the old ladies specifically said, all of the fear left her. She's not feared, because I was praying. I was like heavy praying that I cut my hair. I was like praying. I was like heavy praying. So I was just like, whatever is going on, whatever is going to be is going to be. I was like not feeling the fear. And she noticed that. So this was all, I feel like, being done to kind of like drain me, whatever kind of soul I have, like to drain the fear and to provoke it. And it wasn't happening like that, right? So when I'm at the train station, I remember like we saw like someone actually came with like a big camera set, and my kids are witness to this because we weren't staying in the same spot. We kept moving around the train station like every couple of minutes, so that, because I really did feel like weird people would keep coming around us to like do weird stuff. And they even got some other guys who were Dominican who looked like they were also like, when they were getting on the line to go on the train, like again, like as if they were like putting some kind of contraband in someone's like bag and doing it like in front of me so that I would watch them, like all of these weird things. So I was thinking like, what's going on? Are they trying to do this in front of me to make it seem like I'm watching it, so that if something happens or they lose their merchandise, they're trying to blame it on me? Like that's what I was like thinking was going on, but I didn't think of it from the perspective of the simulation and the Truman Show, is that it's like if they're looking through your eyes, it's all like, constructed. So that was the funny part. Well, it wasn't funny in the moment. Now I'm like remembering all the stuff. But like, yeah, it was like a lot of weird shenanigans were going on before we were leaving in Barcelona, especially the like as if people were purposefully trying to get in my vision and do these things. And of course, I'm still at the point I'm observing everything, because you don't understand that it's through your observation that they even exist or these things function. So again, once I got to France, and then I would be on the train, and then I started noticing like they didn't have any contraptions in their hand, and they were like reading your thoughts, and that they could see your visualizations when you were imagining this and that. Then I started to catch on like, wait a minute. You know what I'm trying to say? But the irony is, going back to what I was talking about with the lives, is the timing and the way that internet of information system works within Simlandia for them to pick it up. Again, like I said, never seen this so much happen in other lives per se that are outside of this region. So it could be that as well, that it's like a regional informational instant kind of thing where they can figure it out. Because sometimes I watch lives in New York and I don't get that sensation that they're aware per se of anything. Okay, so I'm just gonna say that. As far as like I said, that in Simlandia, within Simlandia themselves, they already know who the actors are, right, thrown around. And this goes back to that kind of thing, like when like real, like, because we also talk about this with crisis actors and stuff like this, like when shootings happen and other things happen in society, and we are quick to say like, hey, that's a crisis actor. That's your closest hint to like what's really going on in Simlandia. Well, it goes even deeper than that with the actual Sims themselves when they're doing this too, because within their world, they also know who the actual crisis actors are when there's a crisis, when one of us have tuned in and now everybody is exposed or something like this, and it wasn't planned, or there's no way to control it, right? And so yeah, so the guy was like playing with his camera, like making it darker, maybe making sometimes it be like visible and not. Then I left, and then I came back, and it was when I came back, as if they were like, he kept saying something like, yeah, they're negotiating, but they acted like they were talking about something about football or something like this. And then when I came back is when I started to see these comments that somebody did that were like disrespectful, but from a sexual perspective, but talking about something that I had heard before, comments about like me or whatever from when I lived in Barcelona. And mind you, I wasn't like having any kind of promiscuity or anything like this. I was like always with like the same partner, but I had it like, supposedly I was like, whatever. Anyways, so they just knew things I could do. Let's put it that way. And they were making certain like comments about it on the live in the comments. Okay, so this is part 4. Mind you, I don't know how you're going to see these videos in what order, because, like I said, TikTok likes to shadow ban. When I put it on YouTube, I'm probably going to put all of the videos together to make this just, long piece of reflection, whatever. So this is also going back to that other thing where I say, again, we're talking about the idea that They can see through your eyes. They see what you're doing. They're trying to do certain things in front of you sometimes, or sometimes they're trying not to do certain things with you because they don't want to be exposed, because you're kind of like a projector. You're kind of like a light that shines things on what people are doing. So in the case in Barcelona, they were doing evil or wicked things, parasitic things to drain fear from me or to build a narrative. And I didn't know what was going on at the time because I didn't understand how this reality worked. And like here in France, they're trying to do the same thing, but it doesn't work because now I do know how this reality works. So it goes back to that concept of also like dating and things like this, because I mentioned that in the live, the thing that I saw that they started doing, and I don't know, I guess if they're doing it on purpose to pretend like they're participating in being rude to me, or that like to make it seem as if it's orchestrated, when I know that I went into the live and the person, obviously, like I said, I don't watch his lives and I don't know him. I've never seen his lives before, but I tuned in. And then, like I said, it felt as if like there was some kind of negotiation going on that he was waiting to see, because I tuned in, like if they were going to offer him something to like play along in the Truman Show or whatever. Because like, in my opinion, whatever happened in Barcelona went awry. It went awry with the right person. They chose the right one, the wrong one and the right one, because they chose the one that would be the one that was anointed. So now they're screwed and everybody's going to wake up. But imagine, like, let's imagine they do these things to other individuals who are not, who are just part of Simlandia. Because like, again, I say that this technology does exist. But again, it can only exist, as I've mentioned, from the aspect of it being a simulation and you having an avatar that is hackable, right? So, and if you want to look at it from the perspective of like, well, only big organizations do that, well, then yeah, then big organizations do that. In my case, they did that, but I feel like they already did that knowing who I was in the spirit. They did it knowing who I was in the spirit to track, because they can track certain frequencies. They know who certain people are in the spirit. But regardless of everything else, this is a very spiritual thing. So when I hear people like in the States, like I just heard the other day that there were like some people in this town and they all said that they're hearing like V2K and all of this. Like, okay, but at the same time, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go protest to the government that pretends like that? Like, it's all Simlandia. It's all like, if at best, I feel like those are just ways to collapse into reality the concept that it's more of a material thing happening than for you to go into the spirit. Anytime you are diving into the spirit and you're looking at it from the perspective of demons versus light versus dark, they don't like that. They try to bring you back down a notch, even if it's the case that they have to admit it, but just to make you focus on it from a point of, well, this is a technology and you need to talk to your government and the CIA, like even just to bring you back down a notch, because they know that if you look at it from the perspective of it being spiritual, you're going to use spiritual resources, which is the word of God. You're going to use your energy. You're going to use decreeing. You're going to use prayer. And that's much more of a sword against the enemy than if you actually go to put in a complaint form at your local government office, right? Okay. So again, I do feel like something went awry in Barcelona where like it became like everybody's watching now, right? Maybe it was like an inside joke with some folks, and it became like a Truman Show that now supposedly, as I hear, is from The Sims, sometimes or around Simlandia, because you never know if they say that for you to hear or not. It's like international, whatever. I don't know. So, yeah, I just was, like I said, testing to see the speed at which they could communicate with each other and realize that you were tuned in based on the region. And it goes back to that concept that I said, as in the comments when I went back the second time into the live, that they were making remarks about things that I did sexually that with some of my ex-boyfriends and all this. So it goes into that idea that, how, and I've heard this before, like how they have like rated R, like what do they do? Like what does that mean for those of us, right? Like you're with someone, like bad enough. I'm celibate, so that season is like over. But I'm just saying, this is like one of the things that I think about, like why it's really hard to like think about like even sometimes having a relationship with Sims. Bad enough that they can probably rewind and be knowing things in your mind. That's bad enough, okay? And like I said, I don't hold myself back from thinking what I want to think. Just like if you could or you couldn't, like if like in other words, like when I was asleep, I thought what I wanted, which is funnier because if they could read your thoughts from before that, and I used to be thinking horrible things about people in the sense of like, oh my god, this lady is like, like, you know what I'm saying? And they probably already knew some families like what I thought of them, especially like my in-laws and stuff like that. That's funny. But yeah, but like I don't care because it's the real world, right? You don't want to admit that Jesus is king and Jesus is Lord, and he came to tell us that it's a simulation and that this and that, right? We're gonna play is the real world. So we'll play the real world. I think whatever I want. I don't care. The real world, y'all shouldn't be able to be rewinding and know what I'm thinking. So too bad for you. Whether I think good things, whether I think bad things, whatever. Okay. But I definitely can read it off of people's body language when they're nervous about certain things or they don't want to be seen. And when I got to France, I recalled that there was like a time I was walking down the street and this guy was coming down the street, and I told you like people would be trying to like do these things like acting like this as if like so like they're not being seen. But I don't know if that was kind of orchestrated as well to make you understand that like they're seeing through your eyes or whatever. But you know that whatever. I don't even care anymore. I don't even care. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people who they send to pass by you are these kind of like actors and all of this, right? At the end of the day, it's all conceptual because it's everything is based on what your perception is, what your belief is, what you collapse. So you could even argue that like maybe Dahlia, if that's what you believe, that's what you're going to see and that's what you're going to collapse. That's fair enough as well. But anyways, imagine that that's what I'm perceiving and that's what I'm believing, at least for this moment, unless I get any other information that lifts my consciousness to a different degree of what this reality really is or consists of. One of the things that also I think about is, like I said, if in the future you ever do meet someone and you want to be intimate with them, is like these folks where they have like a Truman Show, like XXX, like a stream when you're like with so like I don't know. That's just interesting to me. But yeah, just all of these kind of things. And I know, like I said, some people could be listening to this and be like, that sounds completely unhinged, or that sounds completely kooky. It's not that kooky as it sounds, because like I said, they try to tell you things in the movies. They try to tell you things in even the things that they show us in politics and in the news and when the CIA puts out certain documents. But again, like I said, I do feel like sometimes that's so that we don't fully delve into the spiritual side of what this all actually means related to this reality, right? It keeps you still kind of like down here. That's how at least it works in the Matrix. From my side, my original side in the States, right? They're not dumb enough, at least with the souls in America, to deny it, flat out deny it. But they tell you the truth with gatekeepers, but just not enough so that you can, they misinform you a little bit so that you don't get to the whole truth. Versus what I've noticed that out here in this matrix, in this region in the Mediterranean, because it's a different kind of soul group that they're dealing with, they're quicker to kind of like try to like deny it and make it seem like it doesn't exist, so you can see through it even faster, especially if your soul is from another region. And I've already explained this to you related to my concept or my theory on American souls and us being maybe the more rebellious souls that are more apt to wake up, which is why they try to feed us all sorts of garbage and give us more distractions to keep us more dumbed down versus in other areas of the world. But yeah, I'm going to culminate with this last entry on this and just leave it to you to decipher and feel what you want to feel about this information that I'm giving you. So this is a part 5. And I thought I was going to do a part 5, but then I was like listening to the video and I said to myself, you know what? Just so that people don't think that you're completely like off, because obviously you're not seeing what I'm seeing sometimes. So you, some of you, so you're not seeing what I'm seeing. So if I'm giving this explanation, you're going to ask yourself like, well, what do you mean that they were talking about you about like things that you did sexually, or what do you mean that they were like negotiating, or what do you mean in the comments, like, or they were making indirect things. All right, so I'm gonna clarify that, okay, because maybe you will, it doesn't, logically you would say like, well, what were they saying in the comments, right? All right, so I'm gonna give you an example. Now this is something that even before I woke up, okay, I was always really good at. When I used to be with my kid's father, and they used to be in Facebook. Facebook used to be like the little gossip area. Okay, so and mind you, they were Dominicans, so Dominicans do this all the time. So they talk about a person. You know they're talking about you based on certain references, but they will not use your name. They will never use your name, okay? They'll even make up another name, but like they'll say like, yeah, because the little kitten said she has to go to buy up the hill for this and this and that. Doesn't make sense because up the hill you're gonna get a discount. You're not gonna get a discount and blah 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 blah. Right now, they did at no point did they mention your name. They might, but when you're listening to it, you're like, why would a kitten go up the hill to get a discount, right? It doesn't make sense. So you know that they're not really talking about anything related to a kitten. You know that it is like how we say in Spanish is like something that has double meaning. Okay, so you got to know how to read that. Dominicans, I already know how to read that. This is already from like it's already like a cultural practice, okay? So I'm already skilled at like the double indirect comments, okay? Because this happens all the time. So when you're in, so when I'm in, so in the first one that I saw, when I noticed that the guy was doing it, they were a little bit more obvious because they were talking about things that I know I do in my home, right? Related to things about showering or this and that, or not directly necessarily to be mean, but enough where like it was interesting that you would first talk about this, then you would talk about that, then you would talk about someone who has a podcast, then you would talk about someone who also does this. And obviously you know the things you do in your home, right? So you know, and you know the idea that they already can know that you're tuned in, right? All right. So things like that. But he didn't say anything like nasty per se. Every now and then I'm reading the comments also of the people popping in, and anytime it's like, and I've learned this already also when I was waking up, like sometimes people are putting in comments and it sounds like it doesn't make sense in the real world. And usually it doesn't make sense in the real world because it's an indirect comment talking about something that you're not aware of and they are aware of among themselves in Simlandia. So you have to kind of like see what is the common theme and why we are talking about that when this is a stream about this and that, right? So for example, in the one from yesterday, they kept coming in like random people and they're talking about this and that about who's going to sign the host. They kept saying, who's going to sign you? Who's going to sign you? Is it related? It's something about Madrid, something about, now granted, you can say, oh no, they're talking about football. They're talking about maybe something about no, they're not talking about football because it doesn't make sense why everybody's coming in and making certain remarks that don't make sense, throwing in certain comments, right? Like, oh, you have and this amount of likes, and then you go and you look at their likes and you see that's not the number at all. So you know that it can't be talking about that. They must, but then they're talking about something about negotiate. Like you gotta be, I don't know how to explain that to you. It's the same way, like I said, like I could be walking down the street and Sims might pass by and they make one remark here as if they heard your thought, as if they're answering something that you said. And then it's just hard to explain how you put the clues together. And I think this is something that's very spiritual. Like either you can do it or you can't. I do think you can practice it, you know. It's the same way, like sometimes, like when I tell you guys, like when I'm on TikTok, I love TikTok with the algorithm idea, right? Because you know it's like AI. And I can tell which videos are sometimes sent directly from the Matrix to land on my algorithm to cause me to question or to cause me to dwell in certain things versus the ones that maybe are from actual other Sims who are being supportive, who are trying to like, or that are your rightful timeline. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense, that is a reflection of your actual energy. And I told you guys this, that like when I started waking up like a couple months ago, I noticed that my algorithm was completely like balanced, like energetically. And then something happened, and then it started trying to mix up my algorithm. So I was getting a lot of other videos, and then they started mixing videos from Spanish and then mixing videos from English and then mixing comedy and mixing a lot of stuff, when it was like very pure, let's say, my algorithm, and I was solely getting things that were on my energetic wavelength. So this can be done, okay? As wild as that sounds, it does work like that, and we do know AI works like that. And they kind of admit certain things to you, right? Like when you are talking about this, and all of a sudden in Google, or you see a search related to that product and all of this. They mess with your algorithm to mess with your mind, to mess with to influence you. So this can be done. And this is going off because this wasn't the original topic, but I'm just giving you an example of how I am able to recognize certain clues even in that. And I'm now deducing that down to when I'm dealing with people, and I can tell that they're using they're speaking indirectly about things that are related to me, and they're saying it with enough clues to let you know that it's about you, right? So it's not like this egotistical thing like, oh, it's a grandiose thought, they're talking about me. No, because they purposefully do it, and some do it in a not so mean way, and some do it in a more mean way, like the guys that were talking on the live yesterday when I came in the second time after they saw that I came. Because like I said, nothing is coincidence. You land in it, and then they make the remarks, and it doesn't match whatever you're actually watching. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like if you're watching a water show, why would somebody come in talking about this nonsense? You know what I'm trying to say? And I know you could just say, oh, well, that just must be like a deranged person just commenting. And say, no, they know what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. Like I said, I don't know if they're doing it so that I don't watch the live, to tune into the MFers that started, and not to be mean, because not everybody in Barcelona is bad or whatever. But, if 1.5 Barcelona, like they put on my other video, but whoever Barcelona 1.5 is of the NPC population, if they were doing shenanigans, right? And then whatever lie that they try to portray for these folks, and now it's like a sham. I don't know. Maybe the fact that I can like tune in and see, I don't even know how it works. I don't even care. But just because I know that it's like something like it kind of bothers them, I'm going to do it more. Trust me, I will.